Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today we're going to do the clickbait. We're going to talk about, am I quitting? Is Cynicalex seriously considering quitting Marvel Future Fight? And the short answer is no. So for those of you that don't like to be clickbaited and you just wanted the answer, you can now mute the video and go about your day. But please continue watching because the watch time is really important, and also the ads are important. If you want to continue to support me beyond watching the ads and watching the entire video, you can like the video. That also helps the metrics, by the way. That helps YouTube know to share the video with more people. And you can leave a comment. Anyways, the short answer is no. The long answer is no. However, I think it's something worth answering because, one, I've had quite a few people ask me. I've had people especially ask me on Twitter, Discord, and in Twitch chat because I've been making a lot more videos recently about how disenchanted, how sort of disappointed I am with the game. And it's not like rage, it's not passionate where I'm like angry about something, it's more like a quiet defeat. And I think that is sort of the difference from before, because a lot of people have been watching me, you've been watching me for a long time, you remember the ultimates. I was pissed, but the rest of the game was dope. It was just a big mistake on that one subject, you know, putting characters in loot boxes. But with the recent updates, you know, the update to the story mode, and then the update to the tutorial, and then changing around to Alliance Battle Extreme, and then the weird world boss changes, there hasn't been a lot of, I mean, besides the Mandalay gem fragments, and besides the massive nerf to the ABX scores with the roar changes, there hasn't been any like colossal fuck up by the devs. It's just been a lot of small mistakes and a lot of bad choices and bad decisions back to back to back to back. And that just gets exhausting. It wears you down. I still have tons of love for this game. I still have tons of passion, but I don't have a lot of motivation right now. I don't have a lot of motivation, and I don't have a lot of content. Content is usually the thing that people make fun of me. Oh, you're running out of content. It's time for another top 10 video. It's time for another weird video where you look at one small thing like, hey guys, can we talk about how Jean Grey's hair is parted and you can see one of her ears but not the other one? It's like she can't really hear you, so it's better to attack her from this side because you can see she's blind, right? But then from this side, ooh, you're in trouble because she's got both eyes and her ear, you know, on you. You know, it's the content. But as far as motivation goes, I'm really starting to notice through playing other games a lot more and getting deeper into other games, not just playing them on the surface, but getting deeper into other mobile games, giggity, that I think one of the core problems in Marvel Future Fight, and I've tried to communicate this to Netmarble and to the devs directly, is progression. I think Marvel Future Fight has a very confusing progression path, I guess you can call it, or progression cycle for newer players, intermediate players, and veterans. And it's to the point where, I mean, on the one hand, it's good for me as a content creator because I get to make lots of videos explaining to you guys how to do things because it's so complicated and ass backwards. You got to go over here. You know, it's like having to go to the grocery store to get the carton and then having to go over to the farm to get the eggs. And then you got to go somewhere else to get some sort of device to pick up the eggs to put them in the carton. And then you got to go somewhere else to wrap up the carton so it doesn't open and break and drop all the eggs out. And then you can go home. It's this really like ass backwards way of doing things where it's very inefficient, it's very confusing, and it just doesn't feel good to make progress. I'll give you guys a really short example of a loop, of a progress loop that feels really good, okay? Silver Surfer. I know I harp on this one all the time, but it just feels really good. It's a very short, it's a two-step progression, right? But you build up your characters so they're strong enough, and then you beat Galactus. And then you build up your characters, and then you beat Galactus. And if you do that enough times, with or without boost points, with boost points you need to do it twice. Without boost points you need to do it like 10 or 20 times. You'll unlock Silver Surfer. And that feels really good because it's like, you know, you learn to swing a baseball bat, and you learn to watch the ball as it's coming towards you, and you build that hand-eye coordination, and then after so many times practicing, you crack that ball, and it goes flying, and you're like, yeah, I did that. So that feels really good. There's a lot of other progressions and sort of progression cycles in Marvel Future Fight that just don't feel good. You know, for example, biometrics. A lot of times you can notice when the game, when any game has a bad progression cycle, when players are constantly confused or they're constantly wondering where is something is gotten. Where do I get bios? Where do you farm so many bios from? One of the answers is I've just been playing forever. I've been playing this game for 10,000 years, so I have all the bios, sure. but it is unclear because you get bios from so many different game modes and you get them in such uneven amounts. You know, over here it's a few, you get a few over here, you get a few over there. You know, you play World Boss Invasion, you get a few over there, but you don't always get them. That's the other thing with Marvel Future Fight is RNG. There is so much randomness in rewards that players start to lose track of their own progression. And this is a really bad thing for mobile games, and it's something that Marvel Future Fight has done more and more of. They need to realize that they're going down the wrong path. They need to back that shit up, back that ass up, and go in the opposite direction. You need to give players clear reward goals that they can work towards, because that is how players get hooked on a game. I know if I spend an hour every day grinding World Boss Invasion, playing it over and over and over again for that 1 hour, and I do that for 7 days, on the 7th day, I'm going to unlock a 500 biometric box with just 500 random bios. And then that's going to go towards Silver Surfer getting him to level 60, or that's going to go towards Jean Grey getting her to level 70. Those kinds of long and short-term and medium-term goals that you can see clearly in the distance. Marvel Future Fight is good at making those kinds of goals for crystals, right? Like, you know, save up 6,600 crystals and unlock Magneto, duh! Like, yeah, okay, for crystals, we get it, but we need things that are not for crystals. There are some good moves that they've made recently for things like that, okay? So you have, for example, this, where you see exactly what you're going to get at every step. This is good. However, they could have made it so much better, because they got lazy here at the end and they just slapped on the 10. This is just lazy dev work. This is just lazy design. What they should have done is they should have put more rewards here. What if I want to do 200? What if I want to do 100 dimension mission runs in a day? What if I want to do 200 or 300 or 500? There should be better rewards here. Maybe a random, you know, even if it is random, it'll be like a random, you know, 4 to 6 star card or something like that. And so there should be more here, but this is an example of at least clear pathing for players. And then the other problem is, even when there is a clear path with a lot of the rewards in Marvel Future Fight, the rewards are just not worth it. This is good in terms of the pathing. You can see at every step of the way, you know, you're improving your score. You're going from 100,000 to 300,000. You're getting that extra reward, but the rewards are not worth it. So the amount of effort that you have to put in to go from 20 Awakening Crystals to 10 Mandalay Gem Fragments is absurd. The jump from 300,000 to 800,000 is way too high. It's almost triple. And in this game mode, you can't even play with level 60 characters. So you're already setting a very high bar. I'm not saying the game mode should be easier. But I am saying that there should be more rewards in there at different amounts. You know, why does it have to be one reward per round? Round 1 could have 2 rewards, one at 50,000 points and one at 100,000 points, or one at 100 and one at 150. Round 2 could have one at 250, 300, and 350, or 250, 300, and 400. And then round 3 could have one at 600, 800, and a million. There's no reason to be so stingy with these rewards, and there's no reason to... I mean, I understand why they are putting most of the rewards at the beginning. That's for new players. That's for players who are weaker. Because even if you can't hit that 800,000, you can aim for 300,000, which is, again, less than half of 800,000, and you can get most of the rewards. I understand that, but still, you're not building up enough incentive. You're not putting enough crumbs along the way for players to want to make that jump from this to this. And so what you're going to end up doing is you're just killing a player's motivation, and they will just autoplay to 500,000 or whatever, and they will resign themselves. They will just say, I'm not going to awaken any characters. And that's, again, really bad for game design. It's not good. This is not a good idea, guys. You're not going to sell packs like this by you know, sucking players dry of all of their materials and asking for 1,000 when you're giving away 60 a week. And then plus whatever the rewards at the end of the week. I know there are rewards here, but they're paltry. Okay, they're paltry. 50. All right. You know, bleeding players dry and then waiting for that moment when they want to spend money is not a good idea. So in playing other mobile games, and a lot of people have wondered if I'm, you know, getting bored of Marvel Future Fight because I'm playing so much 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross. I was playing a lot of King of Fighters All-Star before and other mobile games. It's not, I mean, those games are fun and they do have my attention more because I'm a newer player there, so I'm starting from the bottom, and there is always value to that. And I know there's going to be someone in the comments saying, Cynicalex, I'm so sick of your whining. You only complain about this game because you're a whale and you've been playing forever. I've only been playing for a year and I'm VIP too, and I love this game. That's great. I'm happy that you love the game. And you know what? I can relate when I play other games, and I feel that same way. But I would hope that when I'm playing those other games, that the whales and the long veteran players also feel like they're having fun. Why is it that only some players are allowed to have fun and the other players have to just deal with it, just take what they can get? No, there should be an equal amount of content and an equal amount of fun and competitiveness for all player types, for new players, for spenders, for non-spenders, and for veteran whales and whatever. So I've realized, or I've sort of seen in other games, especially those two that I mentioned, they're also by Netmarble. I know I'm not a paid agent of Netmarble, but yeah, I've noticed, especially in King of Fighters and Seven Deadly Sins, that the progression is so straightforward. You do this thing and you get that reward. So all you have to do is you go through the game and you look at the rewards and you're like, okay, I want this reward and this reward and this reward. And then you just plan it out yourself. Okay, I'm going to do this to get that reward. I'm going to do that to get that reward. And I'm going to get this other thing to this other reward, to get this other reward. And then I'm going to combine those rewards into the giant ring of Sauron, and I'm going to turn invisible. Okay? In Marvel Future Fight, a lot of the reason why players say that it feels like just a chore, a lot of players describe the game as a chore, or they describe the game as just like log in, get your shit done, and log out, is because there isn't that sense of progression. There isn't that sense of, you know, hey, you want this thing? Do this specific thing. Marvel Future Fight is more like, get everything done in the game as fast as you can because there's a shitload of things to do, and then maybe after a week you can look at all the shit that you've earned and you can see like, okay, maybe with all this shit I can make some shit. I don't know, I got all this shit here and all this shit is worth some shit, right? I gotta be able to put this shit together and make some kind of shit, right? It's like, you know, you're going to the recycling center and you're just scrambling to put as much, you know, metal and junk into a bag, and you're hauling it home like Santa. And then after the week is done, you look in the room where you piled up all this junk and you're like, okay, I gotta make a sculpture out of this. What am I gonna make? What am I gonna make? And you're just trying to figure it out. There isn't that progression where, you know, it's very cut and dry, but not dry. It's actually really fun. It's very, you know, cut and dry where you want to get this thing, so you do that thing. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the game right now. I guess that has come to light more for me, the whole progression cycle, the cycle of progression. I talked about it on the stream, and I sort of gave an example of what I thought a better progression cycle could look like in Marvel Future Fight. I think I saved it some here, here. So I actually want to show you guys really quickly. This is a very, very crude idea, but I'll throw it up on screen now and I'll show you guys. Essentially, you start off, you know, just sort of conceptualize it. It's more like macro thinking. We're not talking about the micro here. So you play certain game modes. Again, I don't know exactly what game modes it'd be, but you're talking like base level difficulty game modes. You play certain game modes, and those game modes help you build up characters to tier 2. Now, the confusing part for Marvel Future Fight right away is that the same place that you get tier 2 materials is the place that you get tier 3 materials. So right there, they've made a mistake in the sense that players end up doing the same progression loop again. So you're going to do this progression loop to do tier 2, but you're also going to come back and do this progression loop for tier 3. So the game feels repetitive faster, and you can't really tell, like, oh, I'm a 5-year veteran and you're a 1-year intermediate player, but we're both playing this world boss. So you need the black antimatter, and the tier 3 materials are nice, you're saving them for later. I don't need the black antimatter because I have like 50,000 of it, but I do need the tier 3 materials. So I'm not saying that the materials should be split into different game modes, but if they were split into different game modes, it would make a lot more sense. And then the one with tier 2 materials could be easier, because tier 2ing should be easier than tier 3ing. And then the game mode that has tier 3 materials would be harder, because tier 3 characters are stronger. That's how it should make sense. You know, another thing that doesn't really make sense, as much as I love Galactus Giant Boss Raid, is the rewards. This is one of the most difficult pieces of content in Marvel Future Fight, and actually the Galactus fight itself is probably the most difficult piece of content in the game, but the rewards are so whack. Like, you build up these characters, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna solo this with Namor, I've got a CTP of Rage, I've got Nick, you know, not Nick Fury, I've got, you know, this whole power team, and then I get some of these, and some of these, and some of these. So, yeah, in my sort of cycle, you know, you play specific game modes that are only for tier 2 materials, and you collect tier 2 materials, and you collect gold, and you collect, you know, dimension debris and gear up kits, so that you can get characters from tier 1 to tier 2. this process right here, right? This process right here, this whole thing right here. So that would be the first step here. And the 5, the green numbers are supposed to signify the amount of reward that you get. So you want to reward, and this is what Netmarble is good at. They're good at rewarding new players, and they're good at rewarding players in the early stages of the game. So you want to reward players in the early stages of the game to give them a big push to like get ahead, right? So like, oh man, I got all these resources, right? That's how you want to feel when you play a new game. You want to be given a lot of stuff at the beginning so you can experiment and you can be creative and you can make mistakes and it's not a big deal. If the game doesn't give you a lot at the beginning, you're going to be like, oh shit, I only have 3 cards. I can't make any mistakes, right? And then you're going to have a shitty time, or you're going to spend more of your time watching YouTube videos and reading stuff on Reddit than actually playing the game. So give the players a lot at the beginning, but make it a very clear path. Hey, player, you need to get these weak 1-star tier 1 characters to tier 2, and you got to do it with these game modes. And then the next step would be using those tier 2 game modes to beat a slightly harder piece of content like World Boss Ultimate and Squad Battle, for example, in my example, to get tier 3 materials. So this again would be like, it's like you're going up a step on the ladder. Okay, so you got your tier 2 characters. Good job, player. Now we need you to get tier 3 materials. Why do I need tier 3 materials? So that you can get tier 3 characters to get even stronger, to do even more later content that the other players are already playing. Okay! This is where you give players much less. You slow down their progression. You can make more money on the game here once you've got players hooked, okay? And the players, have already invested that time, and they've already gotten characters to tier 2. So they're like, okay, you know what? I've invested time. I'm winning. I can continue to win. And they can make that call for themselves, whether they want to spend or not, become free to play or not. And then when they push on to the third one, you give them a little bit more rewards. That's why it goes from 2 to 3. You give them a little bit more for their efforts. It could even be 4. 3, it doesn't have to be 3. It could be 4. And here is where they start using tier 3 characters to play other game modes to get other things for the final step. So you can see how it sort of works its way around. In my example, I lead up to the last step, which is PvP, which is timeline battle and things, because that is where we get the premium currency in the game. Timeline battle is the only game mode that rewards you consistently with hundreds of crystals per week. There may be other game modes that give you crystals here and there. I know you can get crystals from things like leveling up characters to a specific level and stuff like that. I understand that. You get crystals back from Danger Room, but timeline battle just gives you crystals. You win, you get crystals. You win more, you get more crystals. The amount of crystals you get in timeline should be doubled or tripled or quadrupled, but that would be the logical progression, and that's why you would want endgame players focusing on PvP, because PvP is the easiest thing to monetize. It's by far the easiest thing to monetize. You can monetize it by making players pay to refresh, which is what they do now, which is why this guy has played, he's already played 85 times, even though the weekly reset was yesterday, and we only have 20 free runs. He's already paid for an additional 60 runs, so you can see there's already thousands of crystals invested by this guy. This guy, oh, he's just gone to 30, but you get what I'm saying, right? So you can do that, or you can restrict the numbers of characters that are used so that players have to, super buff and super build all of their characters and deck them out completely so that they have a very, very strong roster across the board. It's very, very easy to monetize PvP. Tons of games monetize PvP. I know some of you watching don't like PvP. This is not necessarily the only progression loop that you can do. You can do multiple progression loops. You can do a progression loop that deviates at the end for PvP and for PvE content for players who like more of a single player experience and those who like more of a competitive experience. You can even make multiple different competitive experiences, but they have to have the best rewards. So in my example, Alliance Battle Extreme should actually be giving crystals to the top alliances, because these are the players that are spending the most money, that have been playing the longest, and that have the biggest accounts with the craziest cards and the most CTPs and the best builds. So those players should be rewarded the most. Unfortunately, they got stuck in the middle, and they're just rewarding players the most for building up their accounts, playing Barbie Simulator. And then beyond that, the rewards fall off a cliff. And so naturally, after 5 years of playing, your motivation is going to fall off a cliff too. So I'm climbing my way back up the mountain, up the cliff that I fell off. I won't be letting go anytime soon, but let me know what you guys think of the progression sort of example and then the wheel and the cycle I created. Let me know if you have a better idea as well. Thank you so much for watching and listening to my TED Talk once again, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.